Welcome to the Tom Matt Show. You are walking through the front door of the retirement zone. And now, your host, Tom Matt.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us either on the broadcast, radio, podcast, video, clips on Instagram. Maybe you're watching a 1-minute clip on TikTok. Who knows? We're all over the place. If you don't put yourself out there, how the heck are people going to find you? I mean, we're trying to share good information and education and a little bit of entertainment with some really, really, really good people. Last week, D. Leon Stokes. D. Leon Stokes was back for his second visit. He just wrote another book, 50 Things to Do in a Lifetime. Guy's cool as heck. Great guy. Another guy I've known forever, almost as long as the guy I'm interviewing today. But yeah, D. Leon Stokes is a great guy. He's a very, very smart man. And that was a good show. Had a good time with that. And 50 Things to Do in a Lifetime. His book is great. He's a really, really talented guy. Today, one of my best friends ever, Scott Warriner, married with 3 adult children, born in Lansing. Yeah, we all know that. Lives in Eaton Rapids, Michigan. He's a legend in the coaching realm, at least in my mind, for sure. This one we're going to call The Science of Coaching because Scott's got 100 years coaching. He's got 4 state championships in wrestling and 4 runner-ups and pretty close to winning a couple of state championships in softball and probably would, but he'll tell that story here in a second. Today, we're going to cover 5 points because we're going to go specifically with the coaching stuff with Scott because he's Scott. I mean, he's a great coach and people who around here know him and other people out there. And with the youth stuff that's going, all this crazy stuff that's going on with athletics and the NIL and all, we could talk for hours on this, but we got to stay on point. We're going to talk about high expectations, longevity of coaches, building relationships, long-term connections, enhancing athletes' skills and to enjoy the sport. That's something that coaches need to do because I'll tell you what, being a little part-time coach that I did, you lose these kids to other sports, and it's just like you got to teach them how to love the sport. And then the last one is athletes' passion and how it motivates coaches. That is absolutely. Kids' passion should light you up anyways in everything. I mean, if they're performing in a play, or if they're singing, or if they're playing guitar, if they're taking the time to learn and get better, and they're not spending hours and hours on an iPad or a computer or a phone, get them out shooting hoops, get them out running around. Helped us. We made it. Mm-hmm. So welcome back to the show. My buddy, one of my very, very good friends, best friends ever, Mr. Scott Warriner. Hey, Scott, thanks for doing this today.
Hey, Tom. Fun to join you.
Yeah, thanks, brother. You know how we do this thing. This is your life. And then we'll talk about you got so many people in your life. It could take the rest of the 6 minutes here in this segment to go through everybody. But take your time. Talk about all your children. Brag on everybody. Talk about Karen, and just go for it.
Yeah, well, I've been blessed to be married to the same woman, Karen, for 40 years now. And we've had a great life together, raising 3 kids. Have a daughter, Brianna, another daughter, Kristen, and my youngest son is Jacob. And all 3 are married. The 2 girls have kids, each have kids. My daughter, Brianna, has 5 kids. She lives in Holland. My other daughter, Kristen, has 3 kids, including a newborn that was born in September. And so together we have 8 grandchildren and love every minute of it and enjoy watching them start to get involved in sports and so on, at the youth level.
Say their names. I'm going to put you on the spot. All 8 of them.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go from oldest to youngest. All right. There's Phoenix, Louise, Milas, Ozzy, Teddy, River, Lenny, and Marley.
Okay, I didn't get them all. River, Lenny, and who's the last one?
Marley. She's the 4-month-old.
Okay,
going on 5 months old.
She's the newbie, but I think I missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. Isn't Ozzy one of your Isn't he the athlete kid you were telling me about one time? Is just a wild man?
He is a really good athlete, yes. But so is Kristen's oldest son, River. He's only 6, but that little guy can do everything. Skiing, all kinds of stuff. And he's only 6. And then, yeah. So you should have 8 now, right?
Close enough. I mean, I'm not going to refer back, but you said their names. They will hear it on the podcast. They'll be thrilled. And I want to know from you, like 40 years of marriage, that's such a significant number. What do you attribute your longevity with your wife and keeping things going at such a, I mean, because we just saw you guys recently and you guys are doing great. I mean, you're just doing wonderful. And congratulations on 40 years. How do you attribute the success?
Well, first of all, you got to get lucky, Tom. That's number one. So, I got Karen to say yes 40 years ago, or, 40 plus years ago. I got her to say yes. And then I think a lot of it is just having the same interests and the same values and what we like to do and what things we want to share with our kids and how we want to raise our family and be a part of our bigger families. I think that's a real key to it.
Just really the basics, everybody, because they do so much together. They're very active people. And I do believe that being active and doing things together is hugely important, especially as we're growing older adults in this phase of our lives. So just keep that in mind. All right, Scott. So I already listed out the 5 little bullet points that you sent to me. Talk about your 4 state championships. We got about 3.5 minutes to go here. Your 4 state championships and your 4 runner-ups, but also the softball, couple of semis in that 1 year. Just take the rest of the segment and kind of talk about those 2 experiences for you, please.
Well, it's, back in the early 90s, they started moving to what was called a team dual meet format, where you competed as a team and all 14 of your wrestlers competed against other high schools, as opposed to the old format where it was just the best individuals at the state meet kind of determined it. So it really became a matter of trying to put together a whole team and making sure everybody felt important, because everybody was important. Each and every one of them was either scoring team points or not giving up team points. So our first state title occurred in 1991, and we had an outstanding season. The year before, we had been state runner-ups. We'd been state runner-up in 1990. Many of the juniors on that team had won in their state final match. The team lost, but they'd won, and they felt like, coming back, we got a lot of guys who won, and, Mr. Warriner, next year, we're going to get it. And so we had great senior leadership on that team. One of them wrestled at Michigan State and was a college All-American at Michigan State by the name of Phil Judge. He won a state title that year, and many others that were state medalists as well. So that was sort of our springboard. And one of the unique aspects of that very first state title is about 2 weeks before we really got into the whole playoff run, we lost one of our wrestlers. And he was the only 103-pounder that we had on the team. So we basically were forfeiting, where we were going to be down by 6 points by every team that we faced in districts, regionals, and the state finals. And we were able to overcome that and beat a good Grosse Seal team 28-23 and kind of got things rolling. In 92, we were state runner-up again. So that was 2 out of 3 years state runner-up. 92. But then in 1993, had a lot of veterans coming back, and we won the state championship that year. Again, a great group of seniors that were captains, and, all 8 kids that we took to state meet were all state medalists. So that was our second title. In 95, we were state runner-up. But then a couple years later, in 97, we won the state championship over Mount Pleasant. Great match. I think we won like 29-27. And then in 1999, we won yet another state championship over Lowell. That was key to get them then, because now Lowell has won 13 consecutive state championships in Division II.
Scott Warriner is my guest here. I'm going to reset this thing, everybody. And you're going to want to stick around. If you have any kids that are involved with sports, if you're a coach, grandparent, parent, whatever, this is a show absolutely you want to pay attention to, because the science of coaching from a coach, a legend like Scott Warriner, who's been there, he's going to share all kinds of tips with us. We'll talk about the softball thing when we come back. Softball is one of our passions as well in our family. And hopefully athletics is a passion for your family or something. That's all we're talking about. Just something. Do something away from the iPad and the phones. Again, Scott Warriner is my guest today. The science of coaching. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the Selling Team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, watching, getting the clips off Instagram. How many of you like those clips on Instagram, Facebook that we post up, that Vanessa puts up there all the time? And I'd like to get some feedback on that. If you guys enjoy those things, because the whole thought in my mind was you give people the clip and then they want to go listen to the whole episode. I don't want to waste your time. So it's like, watch the clip, listen to the guest. I don't care about me. Listen to the guest. The guest usually has something of value add for sure. That's why they're here. And let me know. This segment's sponsored by my bud, Brock Fletcher, who knows Scott Warriner real well. Brock Fletcher, Kingpin, brother from another mother, selling team of Keller Williams Realty. Love him. He's awesome. His whole team's great. Having lunch with him next week. Whole team, we're having a little appreciation time with him. Call his office, 517-853-6408. Or call his cell phone, leave him a voicemail, or text. Okay, 517-303-3262. Once again, 517-303-3262. You can go online to kwsellingteam.com. Sweet website. It's a great website. Sell your home without hassles, like we did with Big House Holt that we didn't want to get rid of, but Brock was astute enough to know and gave us enough great advice, and he'll do that for you. And he didn't charge us a thing for the advice, and he was spot on. And then when he got the listing for Big House Holt, as I've told you guys 1,000 times, got the number that he told me he was going to get, which I wasn't really thrilled with at first, but he taught me so much about carrying costs and all this other stuff with real estate. And that's why you want to have Brock and his team, because they can educate you. You're going to have people out there telling, oh, yeah, you could get $500 million for your house. Oh, yeah, sure you can. Sure you can. Get with Brock. Won't cost you a dime. Again, call him, 517, or text him, 303-3262, 517-303-3262. Or again, go online to kwsellingteam.com. I want to say thank you again to Joan Wright, and hello to Joan Wright, who is a fan of the show, and she's a customer of Brock's, and she listens to us on WKAR every Sunday. And I want to say thank you, Joan, for doing that. Hope you're doing well. And again, someday we'll have coffee or lunch or something, and when we'll finally meet, it'll be great. All right, back to the show today. My bro's here, and this he is like a brother from another mother for sure. I've known Scott for so long that I didn't want to say, like, I don't even know, 55 years, something like that. The science of coaching. He's one of the top coaches. I mean, I'm so proud of what he's achieved and what he's done in his life, helping all these kids and all this stuff. I want to read something before we get into the softball stuff, because we're going to talk about softball here real quick. But Scott, bear with me for a second, because I've got this article that I want to share with you guys. And this is from the Lansing State Journal from April 25th of 2021. I've saved this the whole time. As I get older, this is a quote from Scott, as I get older, when certain milestones like this occur, he's talking about his wins, I really think about different numbers. Scott said, instead of just being a number of wins, I think about that I've been in coaching that this long and how many student athletes have I had on my various teams, and how many practices that have I, and how many workout sessions that I have been part of. Those numbers become far more than the 500 wins here and the 500 wins there, which he did win over 500 wins in both sports. You double, triple, bear with me, everybody. You double, triple, quadruple the numbers, especially when it comes to practices, workouts, and then the number of student athletes I've been able to work with over these years. That part is really gratifying. That is a fact. When I think about those numbers are the most important to me, more than the number of wins. So congratulations on all that, Scott. That was really well done. Now let's finish the thread with, you talked about wrestling a little bit, and just give everybody a little bit of taste of your softball career, because you've got over 500 wins in both sports, and you came really close in softball. And go ahead, tell the story, please.
Yeah, well, I coached for 19 seasons at Eaton Rapids High School, and along the way, we kept getting better and better and better. And over the years, we had some tough losses at the regionals where we had a chance to maybe go on to the state semifinals. We finally broke through in 2018 and lost to the eventual state champion 2-0. 2019, we got back to the semis again. Unfortunately, we played in the rain and it was a sloppy day, and we lost that game in the semis. But we had 8 returning starters, plus some other younger kids coming up that would have made the 2020 team absolutely very strong, very experienced, strong, with numerous college players soon to be college players on that team. We got 1 week's worth of practice in. When I say 1 week of practice, that's regular season practice. But the previous summer, all fall, all winter, we were doing all the workouts. And we were like primed and ready to go. We were ready to start the season before practice started. And a bunch of highly motivated young ladies and a group of coaches with me that had really worked hard. And, we lost that opportunity to win that state title. And, if you become a coach, you realize that, you only get so many chances of trying to be the absolute very best, and all things have to come together. And in that particular year, everything was coming together except for COVID. That shut us down, along with a lot of other teams and a lot of other folks that had to make some major sacrifices at that time, as we all know.
That has had to be crushing. I mean, the same thing happened with the Spartans. I think the Spartans could have had a really good shot. I mean, there's no guarantees in any of this stuff. Scott Warriner is our guest today, everybody. He's the ultimate coach. The science of coaching is what we're calling this one. But the Spartans, they had a shot that year. I really do believe that they could have definitely went to the Final Four. So in your list was high expectations. What did you mean by that in your mind? I think people understand what high expectations are with youth athletics, but in your world, what does that mean?
I think that was the thing that I picked up most from the coach that I started with in Eaton Rapids, a gentleman named Jack Provencal. And I was his assistant coach for 1 year. And I think the thing that I took away from him the most was the high expectations of practice and performance and drilling that occurred every single day. And so I that really stuck with me. And I carried that on throughout my coaching career, that, there is a way that we're going to run practice, and there's a way that you're going to go through each and every drill, and the conditioning and the expectations are set really high so that you can perform very high. I don't really see how you can have a high performance or great performance without high expectations of yourself and those around you that are working with you.
That's a very good point. And I mean, that was the whole reason that we're doing this interview with Scott today is I love talking to Scott, but we had a dinner recently, and he was talking about his notes and the way he conducted his practice sessions and all of that. And it really got me interested in talking to him more about this. So that led into the high expectations. Scott, we're going to go to break here in a second, but set this thought up in your head here, because I want to talk about the way you did your note taking, the way you, with all of your practices, and I'll let you share the story of all of that coming up here, because it's very important. Give me 30 seconds on that, if you would, on your note taking.
Well, that was just a method of making sure that when I would watch events or be part of events, coaching my kids, I took notes about what is it we really need to work on, and then I would incorporate those into my practice plans. That's primarily what it's all about. Okay,
that's what we'll talk about when we come back. This is a very valid tip. If you don't have high expectations as a coach on yourself and performance, how in the heck can you transfer that to your kids? Scott Warriner's here, the science of coaching. Love this kind of stuff. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. This week's episode of Tom Matt Show. Thank you, Sandy, for bringing us back. Mitch, for all your work. Vanessa, for everything you do on the video side of things. You guys are great. Without support staff, you got nothing. I mean, we all do our jobs. That's all we do. Scott Warriner's here. Science of coaching. Been wanting to get Scott back for a long time. And, we had dinner recently and talked about, his career. Before we go much farther with this, though, and the note taking and how he can help you become a better coach, I got to do the testimonial thing for Brock. You know that Brock is our sponsor. He's a great guy. We love him to death. He helped us sell Big House Holt. He helped us with Mikey Deadman. He helped us buy Little House Lansing, where we're recording this episode today, and just been with us for a long time. We got like 25 episodes on our radio show, on our podcast, on website. If you've got any questions on real estate stuff, go to our website, tommattshow.com, and just look at the little cartoon, the little pictures that I have there, and it says Reality of Real Estate. Click on them. It'll take you right to all of just those episodes, because if you're looking for real estate stuff or information or how to buy a home, we got some big plans coming up for that whole series of stuff that we're doing with Brock. These testimonials, though, I love doing these things. I'm going to do 2 today. Our experience with Brock Fletcher and the selling team was amazing. Numerous times, Brock Fletcher went above and beyond to ensure our needs were met. Not only did the selling team sell our home in 4 days, they also helped us find our dream home in a weekend. Good deal. So glad we chose the selling team. That was Eric and Laura from Lansing. Another one, Brock Fletcher and the selling team have been absolutely stellar in bold type. You have our business for life. That's Jeff and Tammy from DeWitt. Again, call Brock, text him, leave him a voicemail. 517-303-3262. 517-303-3262. He will get the job done. His website is kwsellingteam.com. And by the way, they're looking for people. If you're looking for a career change, if you're looking to jump into the retirement zone or do something different, or if you have a young person that's kind of on the fence about college, maybe they want to get some training. Brock is aggressively looking for good people. I just sent him a young man who I mentor and said he's finishing his stuff at Michigan State. I said, you need to go see Brock and get a job. You got to get a job, period. Go see Brock. He'll help you make money. And I'm telling you, you will not go wrong. All right. Scott Warriner's here. The Science of Coaching. Scott, the high expectations that we have, we were talking about your note-taking and your system that you came up with. And I was fascinated by the amount of notes that you said you took. Explain to everybody, first off, where did you get that technique from? Were you a Nick Saban book or something, or was it something like that? Because that's what all successful coaches do. How did you come up with that philosophy, and take it from there?
Right. Well, actually, I'd seen other coaches do it before, including my predecessor in Eaton Rapids. And when you say taking notes, primarily what I would do is I would dictate. So I would have one of our young ladies that would help out our math statistician stuff. I'd have her sitting right next to me in the corner. I might have my assistant coach on one side and her on the other side. And as I'm watching the match, I'm critiquing the match. And, instead of using a microphone or whatever, she would jot down after each match. And then I would take those home. Usually if it were a Saturday tournament, I'd have a stack of 30, 40, 50 pages worth. And I would go through those for each kid. And I would look at, okay, what is it we need to get better at? And then I would use that to plan the practices for the week. And that was all kind of like reinforcement, because I start out each season with basically my curriculum. All right, these are all the scenarios, all the things that we're going to cover. For example, if it's wrestling, takedowns, top, bottom, neutral, counters, all kinds of situations, and what kind of drills would best suit us to improve those. So that was a way of really kind of guiding what did I want to make sure we covered, but then as the season was going on, how do we keep improving? Well, we keep improving by working on the things that we're not quite good enough at. And sometimes that item that didn't work so good only a few kids on the team were struggling, but you know what? Those are critical kids. Every kid was critical. So it was really a way of trying to focus on helping each individual, but our team get better in the areas that I as the coach could see that we're lacking, and that when you're out there on the mat, you don't see that. You don't feel that. You're just in a combat, situation.
You're in the state of war right there. When you're in a match, it's man on man. It's war. This leads into your second point of the longevity of coaches. Do you think that the younger coaches coming in, do they still follow your same? Because that had to take hours and hours of your time off the practice sessions to compile all that and get all your thoughts together and all of your coaching techniques together. Is that affecting the longevity of coaches, and do they still do it your way?
Well, I don't know if that would affect the longevity of it. There's a lot of other factors involved. And who knows nowadays, they could be using AI. There's so much more technology and so on that they could be using. But when it comes to the longevity, I think part of my thought on that was how, as the longer I coached and the more that I've seen other coaches, I just have an appreciation for those coaches that are able to do it for such a long period of time, because the time commitment, the sacrifice is so great. And it just really shows that they have a love of really two things. They have a love of their sport and they have a love of being with kids. And it just marvels me when I see that kind of longevity. And it doesn't have to be somebody that's had racked up all kinds of titles and accolades over the years. I had the opportunity to do the announcing for the team individual and wrestling finals recently lately. And I saw a coach who's been head coach for 49 years at his school, Battle Creek, Harper Creek. And they've never won a state title. But you know what? The things that he's been able to do and connections he's made throughout his lifetime and the joy that he's brought others and how it's fulfilled him for 49 years goes to show you that the rewards go both ways.
Absolutely. And the thing is you guys aren't doing it for the money. I mean, I know that Coach Izzo, and we both are big Izzo fans, Michigan State fans, and he's got 31 years in over at the university, but he's getting paid. I mean, but he didn't always get paid. You got to put your time in. That's the thing with the longevity, you guys, and you will get all of this intrinsic rewards for sticking with these kids, as Scott is saying. I mean, how do you feel about that, Scott, your relationships? We're going to talk about that here in the next point, the building of the relationships. Let's start that point here, and we'll carry this through because I only got a minute or so to go here. But again, longevity of coaches, how does the building of the relationships and the long-term connections kind of help with the longevity of the coaching industry itself? Are they tied together?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that building those relationships just sort of keeps you involved for many years to come. I mean, right now I'm very fortunate that one of my former wrestlers is the head wrestling coach at Eaton Rabbits High School, and I have another former coach that's at Three Rivers, and those two teams met in the semifinals, and they were both coached by former wrestlers of mine, and to be able to now watch my former wrestlers' kids wrestling in high school and being able to maintain those relationships, those things are so much more important now as I look back. And we talked a little bit about the number of practices and workouts and so on that really, too many times coaches or fans get all caught up in the final destination when the real reward is the journey and the connections and so on that you're making along the way. And when I do the announcing and I'm at the team finals or individual finals down in Ford Field in Detroit, and I see referees from 25 to 30 years ago that still remember me, and I've got a relationship with them and a mutual respect, that along with other coaches that I competed against, that rewards are so much stronger than the trophy that you got, for winning the title.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you said that. And when I come back, I'm going to hit you up on some stories about Sam Davis, because that's not in our notes, but we'll bring that up because you were talking about that. And also what I want to bring up is you're announcing the finals now, and you have former wrestlers and former coaches coaching against each other, and you're doing the announcing. And that's so cool. It's like, wow. But I'm going to take this through, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about that. How your feelings were when you're announcing. It's like that had to be interesting, at least, Okay, let me reset real quick here. We're going to go to break. Scott Warriner's here. He's the ultimate coach, the science of coaching. I respect Scott so much with his coaching, what he's done with kids. Any of you parents out there that have had a coach like a Scott Warriner, send him a freaking Christmas card, will you please? They deserve it. You're listening to The Tom Matt Show.
This segment of The Tom Matt Show is brought to you in part by the Source of Light and Power by band leader Archival and broadcaster Mitch Anderson. Hear the sound that is endorsed by Odyssey headphones, linear tube audio, RME converters, and Peluso microphones at sourceoflightandpower.bandcamp.com.
Welcome to The Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I'd like to say thank you again to Sandy for bringing us in. The only time she ever did radio for this show is those bumpers that you hear in the beginning of the radio broadcast. So thank you, Sandy, for doing that. The Science of Coaching with my brother from another mother, Scott Warriner. Building relationships are the piece that we're on now, long-term connections, as Scott was just talking about. How did you feel when you were announcing, now that you've been doing the announcing for a while now, right? Let's talk about that real quick. How do you like doing that gig?
Yeah, I really do enjoy it. First of all, it helps me stay connected to the sport. And so I go watch a lot more wrestling. I go to all the Eaton Rabbits matches that I can. But I actually first started out as announcing for softball. I was approached by somebody from the MHSA and said, hey, will you do our state semifinal, state championship games in girls softball. And I started doing that, and I was really enjoying that, but I kept telling them, one of these years, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore because I'm going to get my team here to state semifinals. And eventually I did. And so then I kind of got away from that. But then the wrestling group said, we could use somebody that knows a little bit more about the sport.
You think?
Not a professional broadcaster like you, Tom, but somebody that actually understands the sport of wrestling. So they asked me to do it, and I've been doing it ever since, and I really enjoy it. And I do like sharing with the audience, what kind of things are actually happening out there and maybe why they're happening. So, and it's a way of me, watching and seeing the very best wrestlers in the state and the very best teams and the coaches and the programs. And it really brings back a lot of old memories. And I kind of wish that they had done those broadcasts back when I had those state championship teams. Those would be pretty cool to watch now.
Yeah. Well, the thing is they, do they do TV now? How do people see this? Is it MHSAA on their website? And is it on television? It's on a webcast kind of thing?
Yeah, it's MHSA.TV, part of the National Federation of High Schools. So it's a streaming network. So there's a feed to it, but it's not bad. It's like $10 a month, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can watch, and they do it really for the state championships in every sport. Yeah.
It's interesting. All the technologies that have come along. There's an app that we have now for our granddaughter, who is a softball player in Wisconsin. And my daughter is always on us to Ashley, Dad, are you going to pay attention to the game changer today? You're going to, Harpy's pitching, you're going to, and it's actually really pretty sweet. I mean, it's like, wow. And they have all these I mean, Scott, we could do a whole nother show on this, all the other on the peripheral of athletics with youth and high school and college, but we don't have time for that today. But it's got crazy, hasn't it?
It has, for sure. No doubt.
It's just, it's crazy. So how did you feel as you're doing your announcing for the wrestling when you have your former players, former wrestlers, former coaches matched against each other? I mean, that had to bring such pride to you.
It certainly did. Certainly a sense of pride that they're continuing on, and maybe some of the things that I taught them, they're passing on to their kids, and the impact that the program we had such an impact on them that they want to emulate it and try to do as well as what we've been able to do in the past. And so, and also, I focus on when I'm watching them, I'm watching their interactions with kids, and then it gets me reflecting back, how did I look when I was reacting with kids? And I like making those comparisons of, how's he handling a situation with a kid, So that's gratifying too, to see that and learn from that, really.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. Were you, or would you consider yourself an old school kind of coach, like a Nick Saban kind of guy? Because I've been around a lot of coaches, and I know as a trainer myself, I know how I react when I'm coaching people, and it's like, we don't play. I mean, but is that your reputation? Were you a hard guy?
Yeah, I would say I definitely was old school, and certainly very tough about certain things that I thought had to be done certain ways. Yep. And,
fundamentals.
Over time, perspectives change, and certainly coaching girls in softball is a completely different sport, and of course, a different gender. And so the approach changes. Certainly, there's not that same level of intensity. If anything, there's more about being relaxed, being calm, understanding the situation, learning the game, learning the different skills that you can utilize. So the approach is different between the two sports. And I guess I feel a little bit of pride that I was able to adjust, and go from one sport that was incredibly intense with boys, and with girls, a situation where, maybe they've got the same level of desire and commitment and so on, but maybe their competitive juices aren't quite flowing so much, that type of thing.
Well, this gets into your next point. See, we're leading right into this, enhancing athlete skills to enjoy the sport. I mean, with females, you're obviously going to have a different mentality. They have a different biology, and then you have the guys doing the stuff here. But how would you go about that? I mean, you're alluding to it just now, but did you have a skill set, and would you encourage younger coaches now to have a little bit of a kind of a hard attitude when it comes to the fundamentals and sticking to the fundamentals? Is that a key to success?
Oh, I mean, I think so, definitely. And I guess the point I was trying to get at regarding the kids enjoying their sport is, first of all, I think if you think about any game or activity that anybody likes to do, you're going to enjoy it more if you feel like you can do it well. You have some sort of competency. So especially if you're teaching younger people how to do various skills, if they're not feeling competent, they're not going to want to do it. I mean, think of how many kids gave up baseball or softball because they couldn't hit the ball. Well, they could hit the ball. They just needed time and they needed to develop and so on. But when there's an activity where you feel like you're failing at, you don't feel like doing it, right? So I guess that's my whole point, is that I hope over the years I was able to instill some skills and ability and confidence in kids so that they felt like, we might not win, but you know what? I can do okay. I can represent myself. And I think you might have seen it as a parent or a grandparent that a lot of times the parents, or especially me as a grandparent, I don't care if my grandkids' teams wins. I never really cared much if my kids' teams won. I wanted to see that they were doing something well enough so that they had fun. They felt like they were contributing. And I think if you enhance a kid's skills, they're going to feel like they're contributing. And when they feel like they're contributing, then they want to be part of your team.
Let me, we got about 3 minutes to go here. I'm going to reset real quick. Scott Warriner's here, The Science of Coaching. To finish this segment, talk about Sam Davis and how he inspired you as a high school athlete. And you're still friends with Sam for now, 50 years later. Talk about him. Give him a little bit of kudos and love.
Yeah. Well, Sam was my wrestling coach at Everett High School, and I do see Sam. I saw him at the individual finals. He works for the MHSA as supervisor officials, so he coordinated all the officials at the team state finals, which were held down at Wings Event Center in Kalamazoo, and at Ford Field for the individual finals. So Sam has a huge role still in developing and mentoring officials and supervising them. But Sam was definitely. He was a good motivator. He was very strict. He wanted things done the way they should be done, and he helped push us. He was a very accomplished athlete himself, state champion in high school, wrestled at Michigan State. And so he did a real, I thought a great job of motivating others. And he's always been a strong mentor as far as doing things the right way and sticking to it and never giving up. He was, a lot of people didn't realize this, but he also was an alternate to the 1980 Olympic team in judo. He was a world-class judo performer, but unfortunately we ended up having to,
it was a Russian thing, I think.
We boycotted that Olympics, so he didn't get to compete in that.
I never knew that, and I'm going to have to get his number from you because I'd love to interview Sam. It's like we go way back as well, but not at the depth that you do. But he's been another guy who's been such an impactful. He was my daughter's principal at Dwight Rich Junior High School, and if he would have got the job at Sexton High School, this is a true story, everybody. I'm going to go to break after this. If Sam Davis would have got the job at Sexton High School when it was open, the principal's job, I told Ashley, I said, you can go to Sexton because we moved. We moved to Holt, and Holt's a different, little suburb of Lansing, and he didn't get the job. And I said, well, that's it. Because I knew that Sam Davis would rule that school like it should be. He did the same thing at Dwight Rich. He was very, very disciplined. He's very consistent. And that's what you got to be with kids. If you're not consistent and you don't have clear boundaries and rules, they're going to walk all over you. And they're very smart, as you guys all know. These kids nowadays are just super smart, but they like the boundaries. Don't be afraid to enforce your boundaries. And with that, I will go to break. Scott Warriner's here. The Science of Coaching. You want to stick around for this last segment coming up here. If you miss it on broadcast, you can get it on the podcast. Scott, the man, Warriner.
Thank you again to Brock Fletcher, real estate agent at the selling team with Keller Williams Realty. For more information on services provided by Brock, please call his personal cell phone at 517-303-3262 or by emailing Brock at kwsellingteam.com. This is the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome to the Tom Matt Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Fifth segment's always fun because it's a special segment because broadcast radio, for the most part, only takes the first four. And if you're getting this fifth segment, thanks. Thanks for sticking around and, coming back to the podcast or listening to us on WKR. Some of the radio stations carry it, but I'm not sure which ones. And radio's crazy. Scott Warriner's here, The Science of Coaching. Remember our website, tommattshow.com. tommattshow.com. You can get all of our socials, all of the old shows, I had somebody check with me recently and they said, they went to the website and they said, I can only go back to 2018 to get your episodes. And I'm like, that's pretty good. And we rebranded in 2018. So it's like, you can't keep them forever. I mean, it's like, but they're out there. When you put stuff on the internet, this is a good rule for you guys. You put stuff on the internet. There are some old shows where I just was not very good, but we kept plugging, we kept working at it, just like Scott Warriner will tell you, because I was just corrected. And I know this, it's not Warriner. Okay. It kind of bugs Scott. It's Warriner. Okay. Got it? Warriner. Okay. You feel good now, Scott? Am I okay now? I'm good to go. All right. Athletes' passion motivates coaches is our last point. These are the points if you're just joining us, everybody. Scott's gone over the high expectations of coaching. This is all about the science of coaching, how to become a better coach. This is obviously a very high altitude show, and I'll have Scott back. We can get into some and drill down. If I convince him to come in and drill down on some more specific topics on this stuff, but this high altitude stuff, high expectations, longevity of coaches, why that's important, how Scott knows coaches who have been in the game for almost 50 years. They're around. There's a few of them. We had that guy over at Grand Ledge, that O'Keefe guy. He was like there forever. Building relationships, long-term connections. That's huge. That's so big. Enhancing athletes' skills to enjoy the sport. If you don't know how to teach the sport, how in the heck are you going to get your players to learn how to play the sport and learn the fundamentals? That's what Scott's talking about with doing the fundamentals. And now we're going to talk about athletes' passion. How do we fire up our kids to have a passion for something, Scott? I mean, I'm not going to put us in that little tiny box of athletics. Let's go with the big picture. Passion for something outside of a phone and an iPad. How do we do that? You're an educator.
Yeah, Tom, I really am not one of those to kind of espouse trying to create a passion for somebody else. I think that it's more of helping them discover where their passion is. And then if they have a passion, okay, now how can I help you get to where you want to get to? And that's kind of what I meant by that whole section, is that in each of the sports I coached, and I had the pleasure of fortunate. I mean, I was a varsity head coach in 43 different sports seasons at the high school level, between wrestling, football, and softball. And in each of those sports, some of those kids, that was their sport. That was their main sport. And they had so much passion. And I'll never forget when I was a high school athlete, or even before that, but at the high school level. And I always participated every year, every sports season, football, wrestling, and baseball every year. And whether it's relatives or friends would ask me, now, what's your favorite sport? And I would always say the sports season I'm in. And it was kind of like that with coaching too. I mean, when I'm in season with that group of kids, now that's my favorite sport. Well, for a lot of kids, that one sport, for example, maybe softball, that's the only sport they do. And if they've got so much passion and they want to do well at it, then that helped motivate me to help bring this team and that experience and make it the very best. One of my most enjoyable experiences that I would do every year is every summer, we would go to wrestling camp. And obviously it would be the more motivated kids that wanted to be there, or kids that just wanted to be part of something. But summer wrestling camp was an automatic, and kids that had a passion had more of an opportunity to, enhance their skills and so on. It wasn't so much for me, it was really for them. And when it came to softball, I was 19 years as a head coach. Every spring break, we went on spring training together as a group. The season practices had already started. I never felt right about just letting the kids go for a week. And that, if you want to enhance your experience, if you've got a real passion for this sport and for this team and our success, then let's go keep practicing down in Florida. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll build relationships, and we'll give you a chance to just keep getting better and better and better at what you do. So the more the kids became passionate about what they want to do, or an individual kid, and if they wanted to spend extra time with batting practice or fielding or going over wrestling moves, or coming in early to work out because they had a passion at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, I would be there for them because that passion motivated me to be a better coach.
Wonderful, wonderful statement, Scott. And I got to ask you here, because I know you were a multi-sport athlete, as you just described. Tom Izzo is a big proponent of multi-sport athletes for his players. How impactful do you think that? Let me step back for a second. You get the one sport kid who really likes softball or wrestling, but they really find that, once they get into shape and they start to find the team thing, maybe it ignites a fire in them for another sport just to try it. I mean, maybe they go for tennis, or they want to go play pickleball, or they want to do something. Do you, as a professional coach, and for as long as you have been, 40 years, how much do you think is important, and how much would you encourage kids, if they want to play multi-sports?
Well, I always encourage them to play multiple sports. And, if I was coaching, for example, JV football, then I would try to recruit those kids to come out for wrestling. Or if I had some big kids in wrestling that haven't really developed the coordination and so on, okay, well, you're good at wrestling, but you know what? You should be playing some football too, or doing track, So I always liked that they were competing each and every sports season. I love that. And to let them know how much I love it, I'd go watch them compete in other sports. I'd go to the track meets and so on. Of course, a lot of times I'm so busy coaching my own teams, I didn't get to as much as I wanted to. But, reinforcing that being part of a team, making a commitment year round. It doesn't have to be a commitment year round to one sport. But, if you're a high school athlete, a student athlete, and you're making a commitment year round to keep your grades up, to stay out of trouble, to properly diet, to do all the right things, then that makes you a better overall athlete for all of the sports you compete in. It
makes you a better overall human being. That's the thing about just teaching people the right fundamentals for living a good quality life. And that's the thing, everybody. Athletics, for both of us. Now, Scott took it to a whole nother level with his stuff, but we played together all the way through high school. And I'm telling you, athletics in my life, and the people that I've met at the gym and the training sessions that I do now and all that, those are my friends. And Scott and I have been friends for a long, long time. And it all came from, going to school together. But really, it was from the sports. It was the social thing. And as you said, Scott, being part of something. I want to shift gears just real quickly because we're going to run out of time here. About 3 minutes to go. How much do you miss coaching?
I miss it a lot, Tom. And so many times I do think about, if I keep good health, that I could go back and do it all over again and get involved.
Why don't you?
But there are some other things, though, that I consider. First of all, I take into it the sacrifice that you've got to make. And, I made that sacrifice once. And oftentimes one of the sacrifices that coaches make is that they spend more time with other people's kids than they do their own kids. And, I've done that once. And now it's like, well, if I go back into coaching again, then I won't be able to see my grandkids participate and compete as much as I would like to, So I guess at this point in time in my life, instead of being a better coach, I'd just assume be a better grandparent, to be honest with you.
Yeah, just be a better papa. Just be a better papa. Yeah. That's the whole thing, everybody. We just shift perspectives. I had a similar situation last year with my grandson, Scott. I don't know if I told you this or not, but he was struggling at the play. He's 10 years old. And so Ashley asked me to help him when I was over there last July. We were over there for a while, and she said, Dad, I want you to come over and coach him on his hitting. And I said, do you want me to come over as his papa, or you want me to come over there as his trainer Tom? And she said, no, I want Coach Tom. And I said, okay, I use language and I get in his face. And if he's going to start lollygagging, like I know he does, I'm going to drill him. And she said, no, do it. And it all worked out great. He, worked with him for a couple of weeks and just got him to focus on just a couple of things. Because, the kids, they just got to get a routine, right? Just get in the box, eliminate all the thoughts, and away you go. As a takeaway, Scott, because we got a minute and a half to go here, and it's been a great interview, and I appreciate you very much for doing this, The Science of Coaching. What's your takeaway now? We didn't even touch the NIL or any of the other stuff, and we'll come back. We'll talk about that on another episode. But what's your takeaway from this high altitude interview that you'd like people to take from you, Scott Warriner, the tough coach that you are?
I guess as much as anything, we talk about having a passion for things in life. And I realize that sometimes sports is a little bit overemphasized in a whole lot of people's lives. And, for my own kids, their passions and some of the things they do really well were maybe not sports related. There's so many other kids out there that are like that. And so as much as reflecting back on it all, it's more like, I'm most proud of maybe bringing kids and having them feel part of something and having feel good about an activity they were doing at that point in time. I mean, if you've got a girl playing on the JV softball team, for example, what's most important to her is to have a good experience that year, and that down the road, that may not have any impact on her life at all. But, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that there is a whole realm of activities out there to do it. If you have expectations to set high goals, then you can achieve in whatever it is that your passion takes you towards.
Build memories. What Scott's saying is build the experience and the memories, because they will remember you. And I could tell you a tear-jerking story, but I'm running out of time here. They will come back, and they always remember. Scott Warriner's been our guest today. The science of coaching. If our show fits your business or group's mission, we want to be of service to you through our guests, like a Scott Warriner. Always remember, before you can share love with others, you must love yourself first. Thank you to my very, very good friend, Scott Warriner. Did I get that right? Scott Warriner, Sandy, Brock. We'll talk to you next weekend, everybody. Have a great week. Go out and ignite your life. Remember, the Tom Matt Show is a production of Boomers Rock Media. We want to bring your story to life. And lastly, I want to say thank you to Mitch Anderson, our audio production, and our video production coming from Vanessa. Thank you all for doing what you do. And for everybody that subscribes to the show, thank you so much. We are out.
The Tom Matt Show is produced by Mitch Anderson of Black Circle Studios. Original music from the Source of Light and Power by the Arc of All.